Honestly, sometimes I wish I still had the audacity of elementary school me. You know, back in the day, just being that little nonchalant troublemaker, I'd make it my personal mission to ding dong ditch my neighbors every single day. Or there was that one time when I tried painting Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night on my parents' bedroom walls, and I guess they could not recognize my obvious potential. So, as a result, they put me in the timeout chair for 50 minutes. So I sat there for 50 minutes, wailing my brains out and throwing a hissy fit. But honestly, now looking back on my parents' punishments, I've realized that simply being put in a timeout chair pales in comparison to other kids that are not so fortunate. Especially the 200,000 children that Breaking Code Silence.org estimates are placed into the troubled teenager industry every single year. Also known by its acronym TTI, the troubled teenager industry is defined by BBC News as the wide scope of private residential programs aimed at modifying adolescent behavior and claims to combat issues like misbehavior, drug addictions, and mental disorders. In recent years, there has also been an increasing amount of controversy around the industry, as the US Government Accountability Office has found thousands of allegations of abuse within the industry, with over 315 children dying in these facilities, showing that there may be more to the TTI than meets the eye. So today, let's get in a bit of trouble by first looking at the history of the troubled teenager industry, then analyzing the types of practices used by the programs, before finally navigating the implications of what the St. Louis Law School coins as an institutionalized child abuse. Now, although the troubled teenager industry has just recently been criticized, their problematic behavior traces all the way back to their earliest origins, from a cult in the 1950s called Synanon, which was a dangerous cult selling itself to addicts as a method of rehabilitation. They believed the cure to addiction was putting these patients through harsh isolation, humiliation, hard labor, and sleep deprivation. Overall, the Synanon philosophy was that punishment and abuse was an effective form of therapy, which author Bill Milliken coined as the idea of tough love. Later in 1971, an organization called The Seed applied the tough love model but onto misbehaving teenagers, with some methods that Congress found to be similar to the brainwashing techniques used by the North Koreans. Essentially, The Seed planted the seed for an overall focus onto troubled teens, thereby creating what we now know as the troubled teenager industry. Since then, the TTI has turned to a $69 billion industry, consisting of around 10,000 of these facilities, many of which still use Synanon-inspired tough love tactics. Following the collapse of the Seed, three main types of facilities were made. First, wilderness camps are camps in nature meant to give teens a simple life in the outdoors so they can self-reflect. But while participating in the camp activities, like going on mile-long hikes, kids have suffered heat strokes, been deprived of food, sleep, and water, and subjected to extreme labor and physical abuse, as documented by the Crime Victim Law Firm. Meanwhile, its counterpart, boot camps, use similar practices. Boot camps are highly structured military-style programs designed to help teens by putting them under a strict regimen, though these boot camps often took strict to the next level, including physical and emotional abuse, and even sexual assault. From the Youth Rights Association, youth have been beaten, forced to eat their bodily fluids, and strip searched. And in some cases, these abuses lead to death. Just 9 days before his 15th birthday, Martin Lee Anderson collapsed while doing a running drill at a boot camp center, stating he couldn't breathe. After he stopped, 7 camp staff were seen hitting and kicking Martin, covering his mouth and force-feeding him ammonia fumes until he shortly died. And it still does not stop there. Therapeutic boarding schools are meant to give these teens a school-like environment while going through treatment, including behavioral therapy, substance abuse treatment, mental disorder treatment, and even conversion therapy and therapy targeting children with intellectual disabilities like ADHD or autism. The Harvard Law Review also states that such facilities adopt a one-size-fits-all approach to treatment that offers no therapeutic benefit, because they're essentially using the same method on such a wide scope of teens. And the method they're once again using is abusive tough love, which Psychology Today states actually increases the chance of committing offenses in the future. So far, these abuses have already been unimaginable. But one of the most terrifying moments for a child sent to a facility is not what happens inside of one of them, but it's how they get there. To make the smoothest possible transition into the program, the industry will offer the parents authorized kidnappings. As the TroubledTeenagerIndustry.com states, the teen is woken up in the middle of the night by complete strangers, physically restrained with handcuffs or blindfolds, and stuffed in the back of a car for the duration of their transportation, which can last from a few hours to multiple days. All this time, they think they're gonna die, and they call out to their parents for help, not knowing that they're the ones who organized it. And for many, they'll have to live with the trauma they endure in the industry for the rest of their lives. But, as the blog, 1,000 Places You Don't Want to Be as a Teenager states, there are also those that never make it home. The blog offers a list of the 300 plus victims of the TTI, with the most recent one in May of 2024. As I looked at the list of names, some stuck out to me the most. There was Legend Jones, who died after refusing to undress in front of male employees on November 16th, 2023, in the boarding school youth villages that is still open today as we speak. Or Taylor Goodridge, who died from a treatable infection that staff called an excuse to escape, despite vomiting for weeks on end, eventually causing her organs to fail. Or Jaquan Terry, who died from suffocation after being held in a chokehold by two fully grown adult staff for over 10 minutes, simply for saying a swear word. He was only 7 years old. In the future, this list will only get longer and longer because right now, there's essentially nothing to stop it. From the UPenn Law Review, there are absolutely no federal laws that regulate the facilities, and state oversight continues to fall short. However, that doesn't mean people aren't trying. Celebrity and TCI survivor Paris Hilton has been working to enact the Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act and has been the figurehead of the Breaking Code Silence movement, from posting her own documentary to testifying in Congress. Additionally, in March of 2024, Netflix posted a documentary called The Program, which exposed the abuses that occurred in the facility, Ivy Ridge Academy. Overall, the troubled teenager industry has finally reached the national spotlight, giving a voice for the unspoken victims and breaking the silence once and for all. As former teacher, Annette Bro puts it, 9 times out of 10, the story behind misbehavior won't make you angry. It'll break your heart. These so-called troubled teens aren't really troubled. They just need help. And as we saw today, by looking at the troubles of the troubled teenager industry, it's evident that the TTI is not giving them that, and is instead meeting their pain and suffering with abusive, tough love. But as humans, maybe sometimes all we need is just a little bit of love. Thank you.